Kia ora, morena, no mai haramai. Welcome everyone to our wonderful webinar with Shelley. Welcome Shelley, good to see you. I'm so excited about this. This is going to be good because we're all here to find out how to create or build a kick-ass brand. And I would say that you're probably one of the stars in that.
Oh, that's really super kind of you. I know how to build my kick-ass brand, and I can tell you how it's worked for me. And hopefully that will give people some ideas about how they can do it for them. So kia ora koutou. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, well, we're excited, and we've been very excited. I kind of, just to give those of you who have joined us a little bit of context to how we met. I was trying to remember.
You reached out to me on LinkedIn.
I reached out to you on LinkedIn.
Just some random stranger on LinkedIn.
I was looking for somebody to help me figure out how to put, I think we were on the Māori and Pacific, and I was looking at women and how do we sort of bring together a kind of package around brand and brand story and all this. And I think that's how we kind of met up. We just kicked it off. And from there, it's kind of, I thought to myself, yeah, we need to talk to you. We need to hear your story. And I think others need to hear your story. And
here's the thing, right? You were looking on LinkedIn for something about the way that I'm presented to people on LinkedIn, something about my personal brand said to you, we want some of that. And yes. So I just love it. I just love the evidence that this personal brand thing is working. And can I just say that for me, personal brand means nothing more than authenticity. So it is not about creating, building, figuring out a brand. It's about discovering who you are and owning it completely. So I just want to make that really clear when everyone's thinking about a personal brand. What I'm talking about is how do I show the world who I truly am?
Yeah. And also, yeah, how do you tell your story? I think that, you know, we were talking about this before we came live, is that I don't think, well, COVID's created a situation where now you just got to do something, because if you keep doing the same thing, you get the same results. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the day, this is a great opportunity to discover and, rediscover and learn how to tell your story, because it's going to rock. To stand out in a crowded job market, you've got to do something, right?
You just have to. You just have to. And I know that I've been not a lone voice, but a quiet-ish kind of voice that's felt a little isolated for some years now, trying to encourage people to write a CV that has some personality in it. And so many people that still professionally produce CVs for people, their advice is, no, you can't make it personal. It has to be professional. I'm like, what the actual, you know what? I mean, it's too early for swearing, but it's going to come, don't you worry.
I know, it's okay. Just out there, people, it's out there.
It just doesn't make any sense to try and describe what you have to offer on paper to get a foot in the door to get an interview, if you can't show anything about who you would actually get if you were in the room. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
How can this list of words on a page compare with this list of words on a page when they're all just trying to show we tick the same boxes?
Yeah, that's right. And I think that even now it is becoming more and more important that if you want to stand out in the crowd, you want professional success, personal success, your story and being able to tell your story is going to be the key. And I think that that's what we're going to be looking at today. But I mean, your story is phenomenal because it's a journey. Because I know, you know, we can sit here and talk about what you need to do. But I think your story will be able to help those that have joined us kind of get a sense of the journey of discovery. Because it doesn't pop up like that. You don't just go, woo, got it.
No, it is absolutely a journey. And so I need to say, I'm 46, super happy to be 46. Can't wait to my 50s because I just get more and more powerful as every year goes on. And I freaking love that. But I did not start this journey until 38. I did not start spreading my wings. I did not have the self-confidence. I did not have the courage to potentially upset people by going on my own path. I tell people all the time I'm a late bloomer, but I also know from talking to other women who are moving more and more into our powerful years that it's really common to do at this age. So when I get a chance to speak with young women, and if I can possibly plant any seeds with them about how to start earlier, that just makes me so happy, because because it's cool. The earlier we can start, the more powerful we get, the more influence we can have, the more possibility there is that we can achieve the things that we want to achieve. And when I talk about power, it is about power in our own world, in our own universe, and whatever that looks like. Power for one person, and I especially speak to women, power for one woman might be the ability to stay at home, garden, do organic stuff, cook beautiful things for herself, her partner, her family, whatever. If that's what powerful looks like, because that's what you want in your world, I am all about that. If power for you is to be the CEO of a Fortune 500, I am all about that. So whatever power looks like in your world.
And that's the key, is discovering what that is for you. What is that? And being committed to that, I think, and being aligned to that value of what power means, because that determines how you see your success. Because once you've got that, it's just it's an easier ride.
Oh, it really is. It really is. How do you take a journey when you don't know where you're wanting to end up? Like, how do you make a decision? Should I turn left, or should I turn right, or should I keep going straight? You have to have a basis upon which to make the decisions. Yeah. So my journey has been very much, I had a beautiful, beautiful foundation of this loving, safe, privileged upbringing, right? So gorgeous family, beautiful values. And that is one of the reasons why I didn't spread my wings until 38, is because I was so lucky. I was so blessed, and I didn't want to move away from the life that my family wanted for me. I didn't want to hurt my parents, even at 38, you know. But I did, and everything just fell into play. A number of things happened all around the same time. I got pushed out of a job, or the contract didn't roll over, and I went, oh shit, what am I going to do now? And decided to get brave enough to do a little bit of contracting. So I've always been a writer, and I've always been a teacher. And because one of my values, which is something I want to talk about today with your story, is generosity, then when it came to the point that I wanted to start charging people for my writing and editing services, they all knew what I could do, because I'd been doing it just to help people for years. And so then I started doing that. My nana asked me to take on a role in our hapu on Great Barrier Island. I'm Ngāti from Great Barrier Island, and I didn't want to do that, but when your nana asks you, you say yes. So I did, and that put me in a position where I met someone who handed me his business. And at the same time, I got close to a friend at work who I'd known for years and years, and that evolved and turned into something. And he has been my absolute rock ever since. So a bunch of things just all happened. And I take credit for being ready. Right? I had the experience, I had the qualifications, for saying yes and walking through a door even when I didn't know it was on the other side, or walking through a number of doors. And for being willing to take risks, for being willing to go, I have no freaking idea how to do this thing. I have no freaking idea how to run a business. I was given this opportunity to go stand in front of engineers and like pilots in New Zealand and teach them how to write better. And this beautiful man, Victor Main, took me around, introduced me to all his clients and said, here's Shelley, she's amazing. She's going to take over my writing trainings. And I was going, holy shit, I hope I'm amazing. It was so
you didn't know Victor, because I know Victor. He's a great guy, and I think that, and it's weird that how that has turned about, because years ago, Victor and I worked together on various projects, and here you are, because he's a great guy. So he saw my potential.
Yeah.
And the fact is, you didn't quite kind of know it, but not really.
No, I was, I'm a yes girl, and I'm willing to try things. And especially the older I get, the more and more willing I am to go, well, I'm going to try this. It might not work, but yeah, I can survive that. And one of the reasons I know that is because I've survived a husband dying. I've survived a pretty bad marriage and the divorce, and being the single mum. I've survived all these things. And so I know that I can take risks, because I'm like, it might feel pretty crap for a while, but I'm sure we'll survive. We've survived everything else. So yeah, so that's what got me to the point of starting my business. And the branding thing has been
Yeah.
such a cool journey ever since, because I had no idea. And all I kept doing was following my instincts.
Yeah.
And I think one of the greatest things that I've done has been to pause really, really regularly and look back and go, right, did that thing work? Where is there evidence that that risk that I took paid off, or is there evidence that it caused me some damage? And so then the next decision is based on that, and the next decision is based on that.
Yeah. We've got Diella here.
Hello.
Diella, we're running these polls just to get sort of a sense of how our people have joined us.
Yeah.
Where they're at. So how are we going?
Hello everyone. And firstly, just wanted to say I'm super excited because looking at the number of people who are joining us today is probably a record for our webinar. So we've got loads of participants. I'm sure there's going to be lots of chat, lots of questions. And I have got a poll that I want to start today with. And it's really, the purpose of it is to get a general feel from everyone today about what their understanding is around personal branding. So what I'm going to do is launch that poll right now, and then I'll come back to you with the results.
Fabulous. Thanks a lot.
That's so cool.
It's always good to know, because sometimes that's why we do it, just to get a sense of, where people are at. And I think I get to answer it as well, which is great. Do you get to answer it? Do you get it?
Yeah, it is there in front of me, but I'd rather talk while people are doing that. Is that all right? I've got things to
talk
say.
Away. You talk away. So I just want to talk about, because I read this interesting, do you know Mark Mason?
No, not off the top of my head.
He's the guy that I'm going to have to swear, because
I'm going to.
Yeah, so out there, but he's the guy that Who Gives a Fuck Anyway?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And my kids read it, so he's a millennial. But I follow him on Instagram, but he talked about leverage, and leverage meaning the opportunity that comes to you, the percentage of leverage that opportunity gives you. So, for example, if you've lost your job and you have an opportunity, it's assessing, how is this opportunity going to leverage me to where I want to go? And he said it may be that if you do a course and become, go back and retrain as an apprentice builder, you get a 50% leverage, because the opportunities that create, or if you stay where you are and go back into the same job, it'll be a 10% leverage. Because so for you, do you think Victor was your leverage? I mean, he took you to, if you hadn't have been in that space, I mean, was he your leverage, do you think?
I'd have to say yes. Yeah. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know writing training in corporate and government spaces was a thing. I didn't know it existed. And I was scared when he told me about it, but it did sound like what I already did, teaching people how to write better. I've been doing that for years. Yeah. And then once I watched him doing it, I was like, oh, is that all you're doing? I could do that. Oh, okay, then fine. But I would not have sought that out. I would not have known it was something to look for. You know how you don't know what you don't know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, and I think when I listened to Mark, I thought, that's quite a good tool to have when you're assessing an opportunity. Because, I mean, a part of it is also you need to know your story. But you wouldn't have known your story at that time. You wouldn't have had the brand. So what made you go like, oh, what do I do now? I mean, you've got the business.
There's a really clear development that I can see looking back, and look, the sun's just decided to come out, so we get some beautiful warm winter sunshine on my face. I knew that I needed to set up a business, legally, and I knew I needed a website so that if people looked for me, they would find something, right? So I think that those are really valuable things to do, especially if you want to build a personal brand. I think that a website really helps. Now, you have to understand that it's not like 10, 15, 20 years ago where a website would be your milkshake to bring the boys to the yard, right? Because that's not how it works. But it needs to be there when people search for you. You need to be findable. All right, so we have to be really clear that there's a difference. It doesn't work that way anymore. So I created a website. I called my company Why Order Design, because why means water and order means life and well-being. And I got this tattoo on my arm because I'm a writer. It's on my hand. And like most of us, when we set up a business, we use a company name that is meaningful to us and completely unhelpful to our clients. So, and I also did the normal thing, which is to go, I can do so many things. I'm going to make sure everyone knows I can do all the things, which then waters everything down and no one knows what you're particularly good at, right? So that was my first couple of years. Then I acknowledged that people search for my name. I'm the one they get in a room. I'm the one that they remember. I'm what they search for. And so I should just start using my name. So I guess that was another point of leverage, recognizing that using my own name, not having to label myself as anything else was a benefit. So then I did a new brand, got a new logo, new website, first ever photo shoot. It was pretty cool. And that's when I first invested in some advertising too. But within a year, I went through, I did Gallup Strengths Finder, right? So I just want to say to everyone, if you've ever heard of Gallup Strengths and you want to work on your personal brand, I think it is hugely valuable. And to get the full report is like $75 US or something, right? So, and I think that
the book's
you can buy the book. There you go. But basically it helped me get some insight into what my real strengths are. And some of them I kind of knew, but it was nice to have the validation. And others of them I thought were weaknesses, and it helped me reframe them to strengths. I really thought that I was overly sensitive and that was a weakness. And this helped me recognize actually what you are, Shelley, is empathy. And that's one of your superpowers. Yeah, and so by doing a little bit of reframing, I could then go, I need to show myself properly to the world. And once I started thinking about it, I couldn't not do it. And so then within a year, I was like, God damn it, I have to do another website because everything had changed. And no, not changed, but I knew that I could peel back some layers that I was still hiding behind and show more truly who I was. Yeah. So that's how my story developed. And I would like to share with you guys, if it's all right, what my story sounds like now.
Yes, share it.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody will be very keen. Can you do that? Can you share it? Can you do it now?
What was that?
You can do it now?
I can. So I will just explain, unless we want to hear the results of the poll first.
Oh, should we hear the results?
We could do that. We can have the results of the poll, but that does come with another question, Shelley. So if that's okay, and then I can be launching the second poll while you're sharing what your story is like now.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I'm going to close my curtain 1 second.
Yeah.
It's not good planning, sorry.
That's okay.
Now you know I'm wearing pants.
So just to recap, the question that we asked in poll 1 was a very generic, do you have a personal brand? Yes, no, or unsure. And what we found was a pretty even split between people answering no and unsure, which is perhaps why they've tuned in this morning. So Shelley, what actions would you suggest that our participants take to start building their personal brand?
The first, quick tips.
Quick tips. And I'm also going to launch our second poll now as well. So I'll be back shortly.
Thank you. So if you'd asked me 8 years ago, I would have said I don't have a personal brand either, because I didn't know what that meant, what it looked like, how to do it. And also I would have said, why do I need a personal brand? Like I wouldn't have understood why that was a thing. So, always learning. I think that to start developing your personal brand, you have to do some serious look at yourself and create self-awareness. So if you're already a self-aware person, sweet, you've probably got the tools and you can start leveraging off that. You can start building your brand. But if you can't answer easily off, if they can't just roll off the tip of your tongue, what your values are, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Now, I know that's not a PC word, but I don't care, because there are some gaps in my skill set, and I'm happy to call those weaknesses because I'm happy to fill them with the other people around me. Okay. And if you can't say what it is that you want out of life, then you're not ready to build a personal brand yet. I think that you have, and it doesn't mean that those things will be set in stone. They will change, they'll develop, they'll grow with you. But I think you need to know what your core values are. I think you need to understand your strengths. I think you need to know and own the things that you're not good at. Because I'm really clear on the things that I'm not good at. I'm not good at lots of noise. I'm not good at doing tons of research and ideation. It takes too long. Once I've got an idea and I do a little quick validation of it, I just want to go. I just want to act. I'm not good at thinking things through. And I'm really not good at long-term strategy and the big picture stuff. I'm good at strategy in the moment.
Yeah.
I'm cool that I'm not good at those things. I'm fine, and I'm not going to fight it, because that's part of who I am. But I make sure that those gaps in my world get covered. I get someone else's brain to fill those gaps.
But they're much better at it, and it makes you look good too, because you're just like, why wouldn't you?
So those are my tips. You need to know what your values are, your strengths, your weaknesses, and what it is that you want out of life. What's your purpose? Why are you here? What would just make you happy? You know, that kind of thing. You have to know those first. And after that, you can start building your story, right? So I think that we fundamentally misunderstand what our story is. And it shows anytime someone writes a bio. Shelley has a master's degree in creative writing from Brigham Young University, and she grew up and she was born in Aotearoa, and she is the proud mother of 4 children and 2 chihuahuas and no, that's not a brand story.
Yeah.
That's a chronology of your life, and some parts of that might be hugely significant to who you are, but that's still not the way to tell the story. Now, I recently invested, so I'm a writer, and you'd think I could write my own story, and I have for years, but I recently invested in having someone who is a specialist in writing people's stories. In fact, she's now calling it hang on, can I remember the word? No, it'll come back to me. Epic credential. Your epic credential. So if you look up on LinkedIn, Caroline Mays, I
know Caroline Mays. I know of her.
Probably because I promote her a lot on LinkedIn, because she's amazing. So I invested in having her write my story.
Yeah.
And I've got a video coming out, and so this is kind of a debut. Are you guys ready? I'm going to read this to you. So from now on, when I want people to get an insight into brand Shelley, this is what they will access, whether it's text, whether it's video. So the video is coming soon. So just get comfy, you guys. I'm going to read you a little story. It's going to take just a few minutes. All right. So it's very much written as a story. And it's meant to start with a karanga. So when you're watching a video, there's a karanga at the beginning. Does everybody know what that sounds like?
They know. No. Yeah. Go and look it up if you don't.
And so then it says this: for us as Māori, this is how we open the connection between the spiritual and earthly realms. It's how we ask our ancestors to please get their asses down here to help us make sense of everything respectfully. So anyway, they're here now. Do we have your attention? 150 years ago, my great-great-grandmother decided to enter a religion that nurtured my family for 5 generations. So I broke my parents' hearts when I, her rogue descendant, decided I had to leave it. My great-great-grandmother was also the last of our people to wear the moko kauai on her chin that marked her belonging to the Ngāti Wai tribe. And I was the first to put it back on to mark my belonging to myself. Turns out I'm a bit of a badass, and I think she'd approve, because you can forget who you belong to, you know. You can forget who really has the power to make and remake a self. You can forget that the whole point is to have power in your world, so you can make powerful and sometimes disruptive decisions. Like, are you going to trust yourself? Are you going to love in ways that make you feel exposed? Like when fear kicks in, are you going to push through and do the damn thing anyway? Think about it. How generous to gift yourself a risk. How generous to gift yourself another when the one before it was a fucking disaster. Generosity is encrypted in my Ngāti Wai DNA, and as islanders, water is our teacher. Makes sense, doesn't it? Water obeys nothing but its own current. Water recedes inward to gather momentum. Water claims its right to make waves. Whether burying a first husband on your 24th birthday, losing yourself in the dense fog of a second marriage, walking away from community into the unknown, gasping for air in the depths of addiction and mental illness, staring down bankruptcy, or going under the knife to reclaim your health. The baggage can be plentiful, but the load is light when you know how to carry it. So bend with your knees, but also drop the opinions and expectations of other people. Stack the heavier, more important shit first, like your talents and wins and joys and courage. Figure out what you need and how to find the leverage with where you excel. Assess the shape, size, and design of your emotional scars, and then draw a different ink line that marks who you are, what you come from, and who you were born to be. Isn't that incredible?
Oh my God, that is amazing. I can feel that. I can feel it. The ahua around what you've created, and that is just powerful. It is so powerful.
I don't think I could have done that for myself. I think it needed someone's outside eyes. There's a comment that says, amazing, thank you. It is. She captured me beautifully.
And that
now
the power of the words that she uses is just unbelievable.
So here's the thing, right? Once you understand those things about yourself that I mentioned before, and then you can start to build a story that doesn't say, I am this and I've done that. That tells a story that helps people feel and see. It paints the picture of you and your brand. Caroline is brilliant at what she does and is super expensive, and rightly so. She does have a course that you can do. I think it's called Bio Like Beyonce. That's way more affordable if people want to go and try that. I'm not getting any affiliate fees or anything from this, although I should definitely approach her about that. I think that would be good.
Well, I think because you have promoted her, that's why I've been very keen on watching. And I think you recently did on LinkedIn. You did a little promotion on.
Yeah. I like to share her work. I think that it's powerful.
She is. She's really good.
I don't want everyone to think though that to start building their story they have to have that, right? That is next level. That is, I feel like I've reached some pinnacle to have someone write a story like that. But get the people around you to help, right? Because the people around us, they witness us, they reflect to us, they can tell us what the outside world sees, so you have to have those wise and critical friends who can reflect to us and help us start to name things about us.
Well, I'm just thinking, because in my coaching and working with people, clients around discovery of self, it's always interesting that when they walk into the room, I can see their potential, I can see their energy, and I can just see it as soon as they walk in. Every person, apart from those who aren't ready, but those who come in who are ready, who've committed, I can immediately see it. And then getting through those layers to that core is hard work, because for them it takes courage. It takes a huge amount of commitment. I call it it's like getting fit. In fact, I have a questionnaire called Getting Fit for Life, and it kind of tries to get you to start thinking about those things that you've gone in the journey of self-discovery, of the journey of people. I think the thing is, how kids dream, I want to be this, I want to be, and we've lost that. I think we've lost that ability, and I think that's the first part, isn't it? Is getting back the excitement of a dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And we get so many messages all throughout our life, and usually for really good reasons, usually from people who love us and want to protect us and keep us safe. So we get lots of messages about what's appropriate and what's not, what risks not to take, because people don't want us to get hurt or to get embarrassed or those kinds of things. But you can't grow if you don't risk.
No, and that's what
just can't. And this also kind of leads me to thinking about how you can't belong without being your authentic self. And that's something that Brené Brown talks about a lot, right? Yes. And so one of the questions that we came with today was how does having a personal brand, what's the return on that investment, both professionally and personally? And for me, it's this. It's this exactly thing that we're doing right now. This exactly thing. Wasn't that good English? This exact thing. The relationships. It is that when people see what I put out into the world, they either like it or they don't. And I am so down with them not liking it. That is a really useful filter. Off you fuck, it's fine. Okay. But if this draws my people to me, and then I get surrounded by like-minded people, and on their very first time that they contact me, they already feel like I'm approachable, like they kind of know me, they kind of get me. Can you imagine how much time and effort I've reduced by not having to cautiously and politely and professionally go through all those steps where we just gently ease in and get to know one another? I just go, hey world, this is me. I'm kind of a dick. I'm also kind of cool and I know some stuff. And if that puts you off, good, see you later. But if you like it, then get in touch, we'll talk. And it just works. But you have to know that being your authentic self will put some people off. You have to be willing for that to happen. And like Brené Brown says, you don't change who you are to belong. You own who you are. You are authentic. I wish I had quoted her words properly. And then that attracts the right people so that you automatically belong. You find belonging by being yourself, not by changing yourself.
That's right. And that's when you start to create the tribe, because you attract, like, in the sense of, you know, people who get it, and it just happens naturally. It's actually, it's like this, the recipe, isn't it? It's part of the ingredient to making it work. And it's really powerful. I think the whole thing around is that, you know, success is based so much around the economic dollar value that, you know, and I understand the importance of work, because work is part of your whole self-esteem. It's brings motivation. And when you're in this COVID whole situation of the uncertainty and the everyone's feeling pain. It's at different levels and for different reasons, but it's all still pain. It's you know, and that fear of what it's going to be like. I mean, that's painful in itself. But I think that, you know, I listened to this TED talk about stubborn optimism. You just, I mean, what other alternative have you got? But he said, you just don't be stubborn. You are stubborn in the sense of your optimism, but you take action with it.
Yes.
And you don't worry about the result of the action, which is what you said. It's the risk, isn't it? But it's actually good risk, because what's the worst that can happen? You'll learn something anyway. You know, that's the whole thing. And I think that it's that courage. And I think it was I think it was Brené Brown that talked about, you know, courage is fear walking.
I love that.
Isn't it powerful? It says it all.
Yeah. My two favorite people whose voices are my favorite right now are Brené Brown and Glennon Doyle. I don't know if you know Glennon Doyle. What is her recent book called? Untamed, or I can't remember. It's powerful. I heard her talking about it and went, wow, if I were to try to explain to someone the journey that I went through, it was untaming myself. It was allowing me to be my wild self, not the tamed version. And I think we all get tamed as we grow up. I think that's part of the growing up process.
It's a powerful word. It's powerful. Oh, Diella, you've popped up.
Oh, Catherine, I've been here for a while, but I've just been so captivated that I've totally almost forgotten about my poll and what the results were. And there's lots of chat down the side with people just saying how incredible and beautiful and awesome your story was, Shelley. So it's just so cool. And I also wanted just to let everyone know that anyone that you've mentioned, we will sort of follow up and just give names and, you know, authors and titles of books and all that sort of stuff. So that will all come sort of as a follow-up. So if we move back to the second poll, and need to remind myself what the question was. Oh, right. So the question was, how good are you at marketing yourself? Great, not great, and need help. And it's just amazing. One person said they are great, and then it was a completely even split of not great and need help. So, you know, firstly, Shelley, why do you think this is? And secondly, how do we move from not being confident to going out there and doing a really fabulous job at marketing ourselves?
I think baby steps to start with. right? Start putting yourself out there, baby steps. Make sure that you've got some regular, and social media is the way to do it these days, or blog posting, you know, and a combination of those. So baby steps. You don't have to be this huge, big, loud voice. Just regularly start having an opinion on things. Just regularly start sharing some thoughts. Just regularly start sharing those memes that you find inspirational or just fucking hilarious. Whatever it is, that starts to give people an indication of who you are. And then as you continue on this journey, you'll get braver, you'll get stronger, and you'll start to have things that you specifically want to say. It is a long game. It is not an instant, unless you're going to invest tens of thousands of dollars in a PR person, it's a long game.
But I don't even know then, you know, you still got to do the journey. You still got to do the work, don't you? I mean, you still got to have the experience of thinking, oh God, what have I just done?
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to be prepared for negative responses. You have to be prepared that people will have opinions that are different than yours. And that for a people pleaser like me, it makes me feel sick to my stomach every single time. And I still have to work really hard through that. I think that's a really normal thing. To go back to Della's question about why do I think it is that most of us are either not good at promoting our personal brand or think that we really need help. How many of the people watching us today are women, do you think? Is it predominantly?
Bella?
Just out of interest, it doesn't.
Yeah,
matter.
look, I would say, looking at the quick skim of the people, I would say we are 90% female.
Yeah.
I think it is much harder for women, as a general rule, to promote ourselves, because some of those subtle messages we get growing up from society, from the media, is about being a good girl and not making a noise. And like I said, I think that a lot of those messages, if they come from people around us, it's because they love us and they don't want us to get in trouble or, you know, make fuss. So there's the subtle messaging around how women should provide service and not seek after wealth, which just makes me want to go like this, because it's not true. But we can feel very, very apologetic when trying to assert our value and say what we're worth and what our time is worth and what our skills are worth. And if you come from a Māori perspective, we've got this whole kumara idea, you know, kawa te kumara e kōrero ki tāna reka. The kumara does not talk of its own sweetness. You're supposed to be humble and not tell everyone how great you are. I remember really early on going, if I don't tell people I'm great, they are not going to freaking know. So I'm going to do it. Sorry, I'm not a kumara. Like, you know, and people won't like that, and that's okay. But I claim the right and maintain the right to have financial security, because I have a skill set of value. Yeah. I claim the right and maintain the right to provide well for my whānau, and that the more financially secure I am, the more choices I have in the world. And that gives me more opportunities to support, to give, to koha, to be generous, all of those things. Yeah. Why is it so hard for women? We just don't have the practice, and we are afraid of judgment. And so the work that I've done around that is getting some real clarity on whose judgment is important in my world. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that Brené Brown talks about. I think she talks about something to do with a stamp, postage stamp, and like a few people that you've got. Yeah. I can't remember the exact words. Yes. For me, it's very much, there is a small group of people whose opinions matter in my world. Yeah. They matter because I respect them. They matter because they are good to me. They matter because they've been examples and they've helped me to grow. Outside of that small circle, most people's opinions are not of relevance in my world. I could make them of relevance in my world. I could make that one loud voice of that man who thinks that I'm super unprofessional because I use the F word, just push me down. But I choose not to, because I'm like, oh, look, not my tribe. But it's taken work. And so I think that those are all the pieces of work that we need to do as women when we want to promote ourselves. And it's not that doesn't apply to men. I'm sure there are men who feel similar, but there's absolutely a gender thing there. Yes. And it relates to pay inequality and all of those things.
Yeah, it's funny because my daughter, who's pretty staunch, takes after her mother, I think, was going, what do you mean there's pay inequality? I said, well, yeah, she's 26. She goes, you mean that I'm going to go for a job and I'm not going to get as much as a guy is because da da da. And I say, yeah, well, she does. I think that sucks. Got to have to do something about that. And I was thinking,
Sounds good.
but I mean, it is it is a part of our DNA, brought into our cultural DNA, and I actually feel sorry for guys. Can I say that?
We're going to get in trouble now. Keep going.
Sorry. But I mean, we have and that's what excites me as women. This is our time. We have so many resources around that once we make a decision to move forward, it's just, the world's our oyster in the sense of resource. We can just get into Google it. I mean, we just access to so much. And I think that, I think it's a great opportunity for a woman to say, now we're in our power. This is the time to say, actually, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm actually going to take on and go for it. And I'm scared and all that, and I'm going to just do it. And I think, but understand what you need to, because our conditioning, our self-conscious, and this is when my coaching is all around, you can't eliminate your fears, right? All of the self-talk, but you just learn to manage it. You just learn to quieten it down and just let it quiet for a little time so that the goodness of who you are and your strength can come forward. So I think that this is the tools and techniques around becoming courageous, or being the person, or becoming as Michelle Obama, who you are. Is part of that. Finding those tools. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to suddenly. I think that's what we do. We look at, we'll look at you, and you've done amazing stuff. But it's been a journey. You didn't just wake up and go, whoa.
Nope. And I'm still figuring shit out regularly, and I still can be found crying in a corner on a fairly regular basis, because it's just part of the human experience. And I don't mind saying that.
Well, I was telling a person the other day, anxiety I have. But I was just, the other morning, I told her, fuck off, because I'm just over anxiety taking over my life and waking me up at 4:00. But I just thought, I'm over you now. Can you go away? Please go away, because you're not helping me.
Yeah. I like to speak to my fears. I like to have a conversation with my fear and anxiety and go, okay, tell me what you're worried about. Let's talk this through. It makes me sound a little crazy, but it works. It works beautifully, because I did spend years just telling them to go away. Like, nope, I don't do fear. Nope, not listening to you. And then it all kind of came crashing down a little bit. And I realized that fear and that worry was there for a reason, and it's self-protective. It's usually coming from a really caring place. And so once I acknowledge that, and I can go, I see that you're trying to protect me. Here's what I'm going to do to make sure that we're safe. And then then it just settles.
Yes.
It doesn't go away, but I regularly kind of check in with those afraid voices and go, what do you want me to know? I thank you for looking out for me. I'm gonna look after this one. Okay, just give me a few days or a few whatever it is, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about it again, and we'll see how it worked. So I'm a big believer in listening to those voices and creating some peace and harmony with them.
I think that's a really powerful technique. I think, and thank you for sharing that, because I think you're right. And that talking, I remember writing a blog on Dirty Harry and Angel, and that was how I managed it. I'd have Dirty Harry here and Angel over there. Just go, come on, Dirty Harry, I need you.
Yeah. Does that go ahead, make my day? Is that Dirty Harry? Okay.
I think it is, yeah, Clint Eastwood. So I think that, part of that is recognizing, and that fear is part of who we are. We carry it, we have it. We have our fears, managing them, talking to them, or whatever strategy works best. Meditate, whatever you need to just.
There's so many options.
There are so many options out there. It's just finding the one. And I think that the education piece is part of the journey, isn't it? I mean, you've got to be open to that receptive.
Yeah. So ultimately, my high level kind of, I want people to feel powerful in their world. And for me, the process goes like, know yourself so you can love yourself. That's how you find power. And that's how you find joy, right? You have to know yourself first. That's the education piece. That's the self-awareness, the learning, the doing the hard work, the being open to being imperfect, because no one is perfect. The sooner you get that, the easier life is going to get. Know yourself so that you can love yourself, because I don't think you can love yourself if you don't truly get who you are, right? And it doesn't mean that you'll ever get to a point where you fully know yourself and have nothing left to learn. It's always going to continue. The ability to know honestly who you are, all the things about you, the good and the bad, and then to love yourself anyway, love yourself for all of that. That is the power. That's where the powerful position is. That's when nothing can stop you anymore, because it just gives you all the tools. Knowing and loving yourself gives you all the tools. And for me, joy is just my end goal. And power helps me to make powerful decisions so that I can have joy. It helps me to say, that thing's not going to bring me joy. I choose not to do it. Or I was doing this thing and then you arrived on the scene and you're kind of sucking some of my joy. So off you go, that you're no longer part of this situation, because I claim the right to powerfully make choices for myself and curate who's in my world.
Yeah.
So that's what it is for me. Know yourself, love yourself, have power, find joy.
Find joy. It's just, and that's what everybody wants, is to have joy. Isn't it?
I have no idea what the time is, but I'm keen to know. I think there are a couple of questions, and I wonder if Diella has any questions for us or anything.
I can get it.
Or another poll.
The chat's been going crazy on the side, so I've been chatting to lots of different panelists and lots of great comments coming through, which is really awesome.
If we could see everyone's faces, that would be so cool.
I know.
Yeah, well, so Anya, there's a few things to look at for next time, and I think that we should look at putting in that swear count. You know how we were going to do a graphic, like how many times does Catherine swear?
Oh,
I'm winning. I think I'm winning.
I think we should definitely have a little graph at the end.
I know.
The third poll is around about how you are perceived online, and it's something that the team at Blue Sky, that's what we're working on right now. So I'm going to pop that poll up shortly, but before you answer, I really want everyone just to have a really good think about all of your online channels. So that could be your website, your LinkedIn profile, Facebook or Instagram, and across all of those channels, how do you think you are perceived? Does your online presence reflect your personality? So I'm going to launch that poll and I will be back shortly.
Cool. I think it's the reason why we asked that question, Shelley, was because from a recruiting perspective in a crowded market, as we have as a result of COVID-19, I think that it's very much a key thing in regard to positioning yourself and to stand out in the market. Applying for jobs through Seek. Are you still there, Diana? No, she's not. Can you see me, Shelley?
I can see you. Yes, I can totally see you.
Okay.
I'm still here.
Oh, no, that's all right. You can go now. Bye.
I'm very busy on this chat on the side here.
Okay. I think that, that online presence is probably a really important leverage. Even if you're applying for jobs, people always go online to look you up.
Yes.
And you
It's a tricky one for me because I'm an open book and I'm unapologetic about who I am. And so I absolutely don't, for me personally, I don't believe in separating the personal and the professional. You get all of me exactly like this, whether I'm in a personal space or whether I'm in a professional space. And I know that that's not true of everybody. And I know that that's not suitable for some industries, right? And so I'm not sure if my advice is the best around that, because I don't filter anything.
No.
And I'm in a privileged position where running my own business, I don't have to worry if, I don't have an employer or an employer's brand to uphold. I don't have to worry about causing them any problems. I'm answerable for everything that I say and do. when you are an employee, I think that there's still caution that you have to practice, which is why I love being self-employed, because I don't have to worry about it. So so I'm not sure what the answer is because I don't have a lot of experience with that, but I absolutely make sure that my messaging is consistent across all platforms, across all channels. And I know that people go, oh, we're speaking to this market on this channel and this market on this channel. And I always think, for me, I'm speaking to my tribe. They will know if they're my tribe or not. And if they're on Instagram, then they'll connect with me. And if they're on Twitter, then they'll connect with me. I don't have different messaging on different platforms, me personally. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of marketers who will disagree with that. But that's how it works for me. I think that authenticity invites my tribe. And I think there was a question earlier about, I don't know, I had a thought in my mind about the authenticity, the authentic personal brand, and what's the return on investment for me?
That's right. Yeah, it was around.
For me, the financial return is huge.
Yeah.
The financial return is huge because if I'm presenting a very confident, really transparent view of who I am, then when people want what I've got, they want it.
Yeah.
Like, just, yes, that's what we want. And we will pay to get that thing because it is the value, it is everything, it ticks all our boxes. And
though, doesn't it? Sorry, but I mean that in that context, I mean, the recipe for what you've got still can be applied in a professional context and applying for the job or a job.
Yeah, yes, as long as you're willing to not get the job.
Exactly.
They're not your people.
Good because they don't want you.
Yeah.
It's kind of like.
Yeah. But I do recognize that not everyone is in the privileged position of being able to say no to things, especially right now. But yes, I think that the exact same thing applies when you are presenting your CV, when you are applying for jobs. If you want to only attract your tribe, then you have to fully authentically show them who you are so that they are fully informed up front.
Yes.
No surprises. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think that, you know, in the aspect of getting work and trying to find work and applying for jobs, the first, and that's why we're having this conversation, this Caught It All with you, is the first part, and we both agree on this, is know yourself and believe in you is the first step to starting out there and getting the work and going for job interviews and stuff. If you don't do that and invest in you, you just...
And I hope it's okay for me to say, because I know that you guys will help people with their CVs and things, but if there's anyone watching who's not in a position to help people with that,
I'm just doing the big...
no, I'm not offering, I don't want to do anyone's CVs, but I want you to check out the enhancecv.com website online. So it's like enhancv.com.
Oh.
Instead of the E at the end, it's got a V, enhancecv.com. That's an online app that you can use for free that creates these really graphically designed, eye-catching CVs. And if you want to stand out in a pile, now it's not going to work in those online systems that filter things for the recruiters or for whoever's doing the hiring. But if it's going to get in front of an actual human, then it will help you to stand out. And they've got so many good examples on there of how people can show their personality. And it was like the CEO of Yahoo or something like that, a woman years ago. And I saw her CV, a one-page CV using this app, and it just blew my mind. That's when I realized that you can do it in one page, you can do it with impact, you can do it with power, and you can be personal. You can show exactly who you are. A CV doesn't have to show every job you've ever had over the last 40 years.
No.
And it doesn't have to show every certificate or first aid course that you've ever done. And those things are not freaking helpful, okay? But if you have this little graphic that says how I spend my time, and half of it says gin and Netflix, and half of it says talking myself out of overthinking shit, like that gives someone an insight into who you are, right? Yeah. And more powerfully than any lists of jobs and responsibilities and things that I'm proud of, projects that I'm proud of.
No, I think the graphic display, you know, the visual is the story. If you can get that visual aligned to who you are and use graphics, I think, I know, it's even us in recruiting, just like when I go through a CV, it's like, oh. But then I get the occasional one where I go, oh my God, this is amazing.
And we are all so scared. And I get people asking me regularly, can you help me? Now, I've just arrived in New Zealand. Can you help me do a CV the New Zealand way? I want to make sure that I meet the standard. I do it, use the right conventions. And I'm like, nah, sorry, I'm not your girl. I'm not about following conventions. I'm about standing out. If you want me to help you do that, I can. But if there is a New Zealand way of doing a CV, then I think it's the wrong way, because then you will look exactly like everybody else.
If there is, Catherine, we're a bit stuffed because we don't know it.
What do you mean?
The New Zealand way, we're like, whoops, we don't know it.
We don't know the New Zealand way.
Hey, should we do the poll results for everyone? So the question was, do you think your online presence reflects your value and your uniqueness? We did have 26% of people saying yes, they do, but then again, a mix of no and unsure. So I suppose the fact that we did have people say that they did was good.
Yeah.
We have pretty much a large percentage of people saying no or unsure. So Shelley, how can we make sure our online brand or our online profiles reflect our personality sort of across all the different mediums?
Well, I kind of think we've already talked about that.
We have talked about it. And before you answer that, I just want to remind me at the very end, I've got a really great question from one of our panelists for you, Shelley. So I just wanted to remind myself to remind you guys.
Are we the panelists?
Well, you're panelists, but you can't see it, I don't think.
Oh, okay. I just thought it might be my question. I don't
yeah, I do. I will sound like a broken record, because my answer to that question about having a consistent voice is going to be that you have to know yourself first. Right. Yeah. If you can name what your values and your strengths are and what you stand for, then you can make sure that those messages are consistent. Mm-hmm. There's someone I love following, and she's in your industry, although she's in the United States. She's called the Blue Hair Recruiter. Her name is Madison Butler, I think is her name. So if you just go onto LinkedIn, the Blue Haired Recruiter, you know, she has such a strong voice because she knows exactly what she stands for, and it's diversity and inclusion, and she doesn't care who she fucks off along the way at all. No apologies, right? And so if you know what you stand for and you want to bravely put your voice out there, just that consistent messaging gets someone's attention one day. If you use words that, if what you're saying has power, then someone will notice, then they start following, right? But you have to know what your messages are before other people can know.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the question before we close,
Ryan. So Ryan wants to know, Shelley, what mistake are you most grateful for because of what it taught you?
Whoa, thank you, Ryan. That's a great question.
Sit cross-legged on my seat. Okay, I have to think a moment, so please be patient with me. What mistake have I made that I'm most grateful for because of what I learned? Is that right?
Yeah.
And while I'm thinking, Shelley, to all the participants, I am getting a few people saying, can you please resend links, or can you remind us who we've been talking about? We will have all that coming through post-webinar, so it will come through as an email from us.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot about mistakes because I don't hold on to them very much because I'm just so willing to accept that that's part of the journey. But if I were to call something a mistake, it would either be my second marriage or...
say what it taught you though.
I will. Or not taking care of my tax obligations properly in the first few years. Right. So I don't mind speaking to both of those really quickly. I got into my second marriage too quickly with a broken heart, single mum, 1-year-old son. My first husband had left me and then drowned. It was shitty. My world fell apart. I thought I was on this path to the happy life and the happy marriage, and it all fell apart. And very quickly, this man presented himself. Actually, my nana presented him to me. So like, listen to your nana when she wants you to go on the Hubby Trust board, but don't listen to your nana when she's being a matchmaker, because that was not the best idea. And he just said all the right things and seemed to tick all the boxes. And I was desperately lonely and grieving and got married quickly for the wrong reasons. Now, I can't regret that marriage completely because I have 2 beautiful children from that marriage. But I'm grateful for that marriage because it was part of me learning to draw the line about what I deserve and what I'm worth. and what I should and shouldn't put up with. And it took me many years to learn that, and I stayed in the marriage much longer than I should, but I'm very grateful for learning that. And I don't think that I would be who I am now if I hadn't had to go through quite a long period of nearly losing myself under the weight of an oppressive relationship. And going to events where I was speaking or organizing things or whatever, and having people just think that I was amazing, and then I would go home and this man who was supposed to be my whole world didn't seem to think I was anything special at all. Right? And so it took all of that. So learning to draw lines about what's my deal breakers. What are my deal breakers? That's where I learned those. Now, the other lesson about spending tax money instead of putting it aside, it has taken me 5 years to get to a point where I no longer owe any tax, and that literally was yesterday. Yesterday, I paid my last $1,000. So I am grateful for that lesson, because I feel really confident that never, ever again will I get myself in that position. But I did it so badly in one of my first years of moving from being an employee to being self-employed, and just having income that was unlike anything I had ever imagined, and not really being equipped to handle it. It took me 5 years to get out of that mess, because I spent the money building a house on Great Barrier Island instead of paying my taxes. Now I have that beautiful house, but I know that I could have done it differently if I'd just been patient for maybe a year or something and not got myself into the mess. So I'm grateful for that mistake, because it has now taught me to appreciate not being in debt.
Are we all frozen, or is it?
No, we're not frozen.
No, I'm still here.
You're still there. I think we might have frozen. The page is frozen. But I think that this is an interesting end, because our tupuna have asked us to stop talking now.
Yeah, sounds good. Everyone can still hear us, they say in the chat, so that's good. It might just be Diala that's frozen.
Yeah, it might be you, Diala.
So look, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's been such a blast. I've had such a fabulous time. I think that your story is phenomenal. For those participants out there who have joined us, I know that they will be amazed. And ShelleyDavies.com. Go to her. She's going to be phenomenal. I know you will be. Well, you are phenomenal, but you'll be phenomenal. Is that another one? Phenomenal.
Can I do some shameless self-promotion?
Yep.
If you want some joy and badassery in your life, on my website, I sell just a few pieces of kind of fun merchandise. Like this says, I don't even know if you can see it. First we coffee, then we badass. Yes. Like you want a cool New Zealand made or New Zealand designed stainless steel eco cup. If you want a gratitude journal that's full of swear words, there you go. You got the journal. We've got cards. So if you just want some joy and badassery in your life, the merch is there for the pure reason of, if you like this message and you want to share it with someone that you love, then this helps bring some joy and badassery into our lives. And the other shameless self-promotion is, I love speaking. If you've got an event, you know someone that needs a keynote, just hit me please, everybody. I would love that.
Definitely. That's fabulous. Well, take care. And thank you so much. And thank you everybody who's joined us, and we'll see you soon with another webinar. Thanks a lot. See you, sir. Oh, I'm just looking at a Sally here. See you, Shelley. See you soon. Bye.